At first glance, The Last Airbender was a fun show about a group of friends trying to defeat the evil Fire Nation. But there was so much more going on under all the adventure and bison-powered travel, all that made it perfect for adult audiences who wanted serious stuff too. In this video, we'll talk about some of the darker stuff going on in this show. First off, dying in the Avatar states, a big no-no. Seriously, as cool as Aang looked in his super-powered transformation mode, he had to be super careful whenever he went into the state. You probably remember that whenever things got really rough, Aang would enter Avatar state. He didn't really do it on purpose all the time. It just sorta came to him, but it left a big mess behind whenever it did. In the past, Aang and General Fong tried teaching him to enter the state intentionally, but it just didn't work out. Aang's temper became completely out of control when Katara's life was in danger. Think of it like a type of Super Saiyan moment, but without any control over it. Yikes. Remember when Avatar Roku dropped by to give a little premonition for the terrible things that were gonna happen at the end of book 2? Well, he also told Aang that he needed to keep chill because it wasn't that simple to just go into the state and be super strong. If Aang were to die when he's in the Avatar state, that would mean the end of the entire Avatar cycle. Now, imagine taking an entire line of Avatar souls with you. Those are some pretty high stakes. Next up, Ozai had to lose. Aang's only job was to learn how to control the 4 elements so he could fight Fire Lord Ozai and beat him. Even though this was a very scary task, he had no choice but to face his fate. During the battle with Ozai, he almost couldn't handle the Fire Lord's many years of fighting experience and overwhelming firepower. The Fire Lord was almost able to beat him, which would have been a terrible loss for Aang. This didn't happen though, because he was able to beat Ozai with the Avatar state. But it was a pretty high stakes fight, because if he had lost, it would have meant serious danger for the rest of the nations. And Oma and Shu's cave was actually pretty scary. Oma and Shu were the ones who made the Cave of Two Lovers, obviously to ensure their warring villages wouldn't find out about their love. They used their ability to bend the earth to make a maze that would really confuse anyone who tried to follow them. Everyone said that getting lost in there was a death sentence, and the gang almost made that mistake. They only made it out alive by sheer luck. Aang and Katara found their way out by following glow-in-the-dark crystals, while Sokka and his friends were saved by badger moles who loved music. But if they'd gotten lost in there, it would have been over for them. Also, a world without a moon. Remember how Zhao wanted to kill everyone in the Northern Water Tribe? He had to stop them from using the power of the full moon to do this. So he wanted to kill the moon spirit to take away the power of the waterbenders. But that would have also made the moon dark for everyone else. When the spirit was captured, the waterbenders could no longer bend water. And when the spirit was killed, the moon went completely dark. The water tribe would have been lost for good if Aang and the ocean spirit hadn't fixed the problem. Yue had to die so that the moon spirit could come back to life. Okay, so Ko could have stolen Aang's face easily. Aang went to the spirit world during the North Siege to ask the spirits for help. There, he talked to Roku and found out about an old spirit who knew who the ocean and moon spirits were. Aang was told though that he couldn't show even the slightest bit of emotion when he talked to him. Ko, also known as the Face Stealer, was known to take the faces of people who were scared, happy, or showing any other emotion. We just know we wouldn't have been able to keep a straight face at all. We had to sit through a scene that made our hearts race, where Aang had to keep a straight face while talking to a terrifying spirit. Let's not forget the Judgement of the Dragons. We learned a lot about the show at the Sun Warrior village. First, there was the fact that civilization was still around. Second, there were still living dragons. Third, the ability to bend fire actually requires drive and determination. But Zuko and Aang had to face the judgment of the last 2 dragons to finish their quest to find a new way to firebend. Dragons were thought to be the best firebenders, so defeating one would be very hard. If Aang and Zuko had failed the test, they wouldn't have been able to beat the dragons. And you can guess what what would have happened to them after that. Oh, and you can't just leave the Fire Nation. We already know that the Fire Nation's known for being cruel and giving harsh punishments, even to its own people. People could have easily joined the army on their own, or because they were forced to. Once they joined the army, though, there was no way for them to leave. There was a rumor that Zhang was the first person to leave the army and live, and there were wanted posters for him in the Fire Nation and their colonies. If that were true, it seems likely that people who left the army in the past were caught and killed. Zhang had to have a lot of guts. Fascist state much? The Fire Nation doesn't just go to war for money or to take over other countries. They also want to kill everyone who stands in their way. Sozin feared that the Avatar would come back to life and stop him, so he killed all of the air nomads. Ozai was no different and was about to carry out an order to kill all waterbenders from the Southern Water Tribe and all earthbenders from the Earth Kingdom. This kind of ethnic cleansing still happens in the real world, which is why it was great that the Last Airbender dealt with it in a way that kids could understand. And the 7th Chakra problem. Before the biggest fight of the show, Aang had to get good at controlling the Avatar state. And let's be real, it's not easy to do that, especially if you're as chaotic and emotional as him. He could have used the state whenever he wanted to, if he had opened all 7 chakras. Once he started the process, he couldn't stop until all 7 were open. But of course, when he was trying to open the 7th chakra, he saw a vision of Katara in trouble, so he gave up on the process. By doing this, he shut down the chakra and could no longer reach Avatar state. Plus, the darkest day for the Fire Nation? Okay, as evil as they might be, the Fire Nation isn't exactly invincible. As with the lunar eclipse, a solar eclipse meant that the Firebenders couldn't use fire for a few minutes. This gave them the chance to attack the Fire Nation. We can't even imagine how it would feel to depend on something and then have it break down when you need it most. This was the case with the Firebenders, who had no power at all because of the solar eclipse. A note in Wan Shitong's library said the last eclipse was the darkest day in Fire Nation history. We can only assume that there must have been something worse than the invasion that day. And we should talk about Zuko's scar. In the first book of The Last Airbender, almost everything about Prince Zuko is dark. Uncle Iroh telling Zuko how he got his famous scar was something that stood out. All of this happened because someone spoke out of turn in Fire Lord Ozai's court, which led to a fight between 2 Agni Kai, or Firebenders. This was a turning point in Zuko's and Ozai's relationship, which was broken for good after that day. Ozai not only hurt his own child, who was also too young to be an adult, but he also permanently scarred Zuko. This kind of bad relationship between a parent and a child doesn't happen very often in kids' cartoons, and it was a pretty scary storyline. And finally, Roku should have just killed Sozin when he could. Avatar Roku and Sozin used to be best friends. Sozin had no choice but to go and start a war. This caused a rift between them, and they were very angry at each other before long. Roku had the chance to kill Sozin, but he didn't because they had been friends in the past. This was a kind thing to do, but it would hurt him in the end. Sozin betrayed him in the end and left him on a volcano to die. This loss led to a full-scale invasion of the world, which could have been avoided if Roku had been less willing to give in. So the idea that sometimes killing's a pretty good solution to your problems is a pretty dark implication. That's a wrap for this video. What moment had you the most scared in the show? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.